Hi, I'm Vanessa. Welcome back to the podcast. My guest today is Zac Shull, and he's the founder of a company called Coaches and Content. And he helps small business owners promote their business through podcasts and video content. And today we're going to talk about the different ways that you can use these platforms to build your brand and attract more business. So we'll talk about sales funnels and getting started with podcasting and lots of other juicy things all around education and content marketing. Let's dig in. All right. Hi, Zac. How are you today?
Hey, Vanessa, how you doing today? I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I think this is a really relevant topic. A lot of people are trying to figure out how do I create more and better content online. And I think education marketing is such a wonderful niche. So I'm really happy that we connected and we get to talk about this today.
For sure, yeah, I'm excited to, help some people out there create content because it's the best way, especially video content, the great way to attract business.
Yeah, so let's give everybody a little bit of background. I know that you come from the real estate industry, so give us a little story about how you got from there to here.
Yeah, sure. So my background in my younger days, I used to produce music and DJ. I'm taking you all the way back to bring you to where we are today. So I used to produce music and DJ. Then I started interviewing like rappers and celebrities in college for a website. So I kind of had my own podcast before there were podcasts. It was more text. You had to read them, I had to transcribe them. But then fast forward, I went to school, finished college, and I found out that there are social media companies, like people getting paid to post on social media. This was probably about 2012. So I started my own business and I started working with local agents and mortgage. Actually, my first job was with the mortgage company, and then I left there to start my own thing. So I was doing social media for them. So then I was working with agents, stuff like that. I ended up getting a job with a real estate coach by the name of Krista Mayshore. If you're a real estate agent on Facebook, you've probably seen her ads, have heard of her. She's really big, super awesome, changed my life. I love her a lot. But I used to work for her, and I was her digital marketing person. And her podcast is really the first podcast I started developing. So I was producing her podcast, producing her video content. And then I work with a couple other real estate coaches. I still work with realtors on the side. So I've always been in that space, in the real estate space. And then I just decided to start my own company again and help produce content, podcasts, things like that for agents, mortgage brokers, any type of entrepreneur, really.
I think that's fantastic. So obviously there are lots of ways to market yourself and lots of different approaches to social media. So who in the real estate space is a good fit for this educational marketing or like podcast long form type of social media marketing?
Well, there's a saying, if you try to serve everyone, you serve no one, right? But with this type of stuff, it literally is for any agent because you all need to be doing it because I'm sure your competitor is doing it. I'm sure John or Susie across town are putting out video content. So, it's important that all agents do it because you really can build a relationship with people, especially through video content, which is what we specialize in. Whether we coach you on how to do the videos, or coach your editors. Some people already have editors. If you have somebody filming your listings and stuff like that, chances are they could probably edit these videos for you. But yeah, I mean, any agent, I've seen it time and time again. I've seen agents make, they already were doing millions, but they did more millions once they started implementing video content, especially around COVID. I think COVID really shifted things and forced people to do video content. So yeah, I think all agents really should be doing some type of video content.
So let's talk about the types of video content. I could imagine an agent listening to this and saying, oh my gosh, I have no idea, other than showing my listings, I have no idea what I would talk about online. So give us some examples.
Yeah, sure. So it kind of depends. So, well, first of all, short form video is really what's taking off right now because unfortunately we have no attention spans anymore. So, that's why TikTok and everything's taking off. So I'll just real quickly, the different types are, there's the short form, then there's what I call the educational one. So like you should always have videos on your website too. That's super important. I don't think enough agents have general videos on their website, whether it's a video about frequently asked questions. So that way you don't have to answer emails and messages all the time. You can just say, hey, go to my website. I have things there about, how to stage your home if you're selling it. what to look for buying a home, finding home inspectors, all those types of tips. You want to make educational videos. What you do is you put them on your YouTube page so that you want to be growing your YouTube page. And then you can post those on social media as well and on your website. So one of the big things I have to get into later is I create content with purpose. So it's not just like you're running around with the chicken with your head cut off. You want to have a plan and a strategy. But so yeah, there's a short form, there's the educational, then there's the podcast ones. And when I say podcast, I mean video and audio. So you can, as you record this, you put the video on YouTube, put the audio on podcast platforms. So there's the podcast one, and podcasts are generally interviews like this. So there's that as well. But I think those are like the main categories of videos really you need to focus on.
Okay, so beyond educational content, are there other approaches that some agents take to their, their online like video presence?
Yeah, sure. So I tell people it really depends on you and who you are as a person and what you're interested in, because some people are more open with their lives and some people are not as open with their lives. One thing I can tell you is just making real estate content is not going to cut it, because, most people, it's all about being top of mind, and the three E's: education, entertainment, and engagement. So, if you don't dance, I'm not a big dancer, so I'm not going to be dancing on TikTok, but I can still show glimpse and parts of my life, or anything in your day-to-day life can be a video. If you see something funny at a house, or if you encounter something funny on the way, or if you have a thought, like a positive quote or a win for the day, like it really depends on your life. If you're into sports, you can do a video about sports. If you go to a game, do a quick video. These videos don't have to be overproduced and over edited. A lot of times just pointing and shooting and doing a 20-30 second video is the way to go, because it's all about being on top of mind, right? So someone who might not be ready to buy a house today, they might be in 6 to 8 months, and they might forget that you're a realtor. Even if it's your cousin Bill, he might forget that you're a realtor. But by you constantly putting out this video content, you're staying on top of people's minds, so that when they're ready to buy a house or sell a house, they'll remember you. They might see your social media post yesterday, and today they're ready to sell their house, and they're like, oh, I just remembered, my cousin does it. So that's why you need to do the videos. But like I said, it really depends on your life. I mean, I can be more specific if you want, but that's generally kind of how it works. You want to mix in some funny stuff, some educational stuff, real estate stuff, but then, show a glimpse of who you are, because you're your own personal brand. You're really selling yourself.
Right. As you were saying that, I thought of a realtor that I follow on Facebook, and her whole thing is showing horrifying pictures from when she does broker tours and MLS pictures. So, this home looks beautiful from the outside, and then inside everything is like navy blue, top to bottom, the floors, you just like, and they're hilarious, right? So it's fun to see her content, because you like get a window into other people's design choices, and it's really entertaining. And that's her whole thing, right? And she'll ask, like, do you like the black toilet in this, in this bathroom? And people have opinions about black toilets, right? And so I think that's a great example of, this is something that's interesting to her. She loves architecture, and she's able to kind of parlay that into staying top of mind in an entertaining way. And man, there's plenty of content out there for that, right? People do weird things to their homes. So she's got an endless supply of options. So thanks for kind of sharing some of those other ideas. When you and I were talking offline, you said that podcasts are a great place to start. Do you want to talk about why you might go with a podcast format versus short form?
Yeah, sure. So, podcasts, you can do a podcast by yourself. You could do a mix of interviews. I highly suggest interviews, and I'll tell you why. I just watched Gary V did like a keynote speaking. It's on his YouTube page. I'm sure everyone knows who Gary V is, but if you don't, he's like a huge social media influencer, marketer. Like I study what he does. I look what he does. He's a great person to look at, actually, for examples of like what your content should look like and what to make content about. But Gary did an interview, or in his keynote, he talked about why podcasts are so powerful, and the art of like attracting business and building relationships through conversations by having a podcast. So if you're a local real estate agent, you could do a podcast about your town or your area, and you can interview people. So, imagine, instead of saying to someone you want to work with or talk to, instead of saying, hey, let's go get some coffee, hey, can I pick your brain? they might blow you off. But if you say, hey, I have a podcast, I would love to have you on and talk about your title business. Or imagine you reach out to the mayor and say, hey, I'd love to talk to you about this community event coming up. That's you have a platform. So it gives you a reason to talk to people you might not talk to. Like I'm a huge wrestling fan, like WWE. I have my own podcast called Coaches and Content, where we teach people how to get clients through creating content and digital marketing. And I got to interview a wrestler who I just reached out to because I have a podcast, and I might have never talked to him if it wasn't for the podcast. So it gave me a reason to reach out to him and talk to him. You get to meet people. So imagine you interview the mayor, you build a relationship with them, and then from there you just keep in touch with them. Then you post the interview on Facebook, social media, YouTube. You tag them in it, they share it with their audience, so you build a bond with people. So having an interview-based show is a great way it just kills so many birds, a lot of birds with one stone. It gives you more content, it gives you a reason to talk to people. It makes you relevant, it gives you a platform, and the cost of entry is not a lot. It doesn't, with technology today, like you're in Spain, right?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. So what time is it there? Like 6 p.m., 7?
5 p.m. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm in Philadelphia right now and it's 11 a.m. and we're able to have this conversation and record this through technology. So you don't even need like an elaborate studio. I have a studio and my lights and stuff, but that's just because I'm a pro podcaster, but you don't even need all that. You could just do it. You have a nice setup. That's all you need is a setup like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So the way to break it down even more is with the podcast, you can repurpose the content. So if we do, I've seen you do it, right? You repurpose your interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
you could
definitely.
you could take out, you take out like the best part, you do like a 20, 30-minute interview, you post that on YouTube, put it on podcast platforms, and then you can take out like a 45-second clip, maybe your favorite clip from it, and you turn that into a video, and then you can post that on, if you make one video once, you can post that on every platform. You don't have to change it. So one 30-second, 45-second clip from your interview, you could post it on TikTok, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels is big now. YouTube has YouTube Shorts, which is their version of TikTok. You could post, you could post to 4 or 5 platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever. So by having a podcast, it gives you more content. So you can make more than one 30-second clip per interview if you wanted to. You could do one clip of you, one clip of your guest. So having a podcast, it just gives you more content that you don't have to spend otherwise doing.
Yeah, I think those are all really valid points. And I can vouch for the value of having a platform that allows you to connect with people. Same thing. I've had the opportunity to interview, CEOs of companies and lots of interesting people and build connections with them, and also have access to their network because they're going to promote this interview with their network, which just sort of amplifies your voice.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like preparing for the podcast interviews is so much easier than scripting and speaking straight to camera for the short form videos that I do. Like it could easily take me an hour to prepare and do everything I need to do the short form, like a 10-minute video, and those require more editing. This, I just need to think of 10 questions that can carry me through a whole interview. And then I get to have an interesting conversation with somebody, and then I send it off to my editor and it's done. So I feel like it's less of a brain drain than the other types of content. Even the short form content takes a lot of thought. And I mean, it's actually a lot harder to say what you want to say in 3 minutes than it is to say it in 30. So so there's a lot of value there. Okay, so if somebody doesn't want to have a podcast, if they just feel like that's not their format, what would you say is the next best option?
Yeah, I mean, podcasting isn't for everyone. I think there are a lot of people out there that would really enjoy it. They just either don't know how to do it or didn't think about it, but it's definitely not for everyone. I mean, realtors love to talk and have relationships. So I think a lot of realtors would be good at it, but it depends on, the person. But otherwise, I mean, like you said, it is hard. Shorter video is harder to do. So that's why I think you kind of have to mix it up. That's why you should have some videos that educate people on what's going on. But I mean, in general, so it really depends what you're going for. Like if you're going to make a video for your website, a frequently asked question, like that could be 3 minutes or so. And you could even cut out a minute from that. So, the long form video, everything really stems from that because you could transcribe that, turn it into a blog post. You could do a lot. So let's just say you make a 3-minute video about a specific topic, chances are you could probably just cut out a little segment from that and repurpose that and turn that into a clip for social media. So when you're, when you're thinking about recording a video, a lot of times I teach is you should create bullet points. Cause like you said, writing out a script and, we're not actors and people can tell. So it might not come off great. So what you do is you can kind of bullet point what you want to say and what order you want to say it, because you know what you're talking about. It's just a guide for you. And then when you have those bullet points broken down, then when you're done, you can say, oh, this right here, this could be like a 30-second clip that I could use on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. So it still kind of starts with long form. You just have to think about, like I said, making content with purpose. Like I'm going to make a video to teach people how to stage their home. And then I'm going to break down a couple tips. And then you could just say that one tip, you might do 5 tips. That one tip right there, you could just clip out and that could be a post for social media.
Yeah, I think that's great. And let's talk about the time commitment. Let's start with just podcasts. So if somebody said, okay, I'm going to commit to doing this podcast thing, what should they keep in mind in terms of the time commitment?
Yeah. So with podcasting, we try to make it easy for people, and it can be easy if it's in your schedule. So like, like you mentioned, you have an editor. So we're going to do this interview for however long, but if you have an editor and stuff, you might not have to spend a lot of any extra time on this. So that's a good thing is you have people to help you where you just do the interview, somebody edits it, uploads it, things like that. So, you have to come up with the question and things like that. But I generally, you could do a 30-minute interview show if you wanted to. So maybe it takes you 45 minutes, an hour per episode just to ask some questions, set it up, things like that. If you have an assistant, they can help you set it up. But the actual podcast itself doesn't take a lot of time. But I tell people, as far as creating content, it has to be in your schedule. It has to be part of your activities, your life. So, you really should dedicate some time. Maybe it's every Monday, 10 to 11, I'm recording content. You might have to change your outfit, or you can do multiple videos in the same outfit and just alternate. So if I do, if I do 2 videos in an hour today, I could post one of those this week and one of them in 2 weeks. And then next week I'll do 2 more. So you can kind of mix it up, but you definitely need to make it part of your schedule. And just get in the habit of it, even like a Facebook, Instagram story of just you out and about. So just get it at the top of your head, just start thinking about what you can record videos about. If you have a dog, if you have pets, if you like to show off your kids, your hobby, the baking, whatever, like you could literally just do a quick story about that and just show people, and that'll resonate with people who are interested in that as well. So it's a mix of like getting it ingrained in your daily life and thinking about who you are and what you can film content about. And then also making it a point in your schedule to make sure that you're recording. So, and you can mix it up. So every Monday, 10 to 11, I'm going to record content. It doesn't matter what kind, I'm just going to do it. So maybe this week I'll do in my office, I'll do educational video for YouTube. Maybe next week I'll be in my office, but I'll do it with, one of my people that I work with, like coworkers, do some type of video or something. So it's a mix of ingraining it in your life and scheduling it.
Yeah, well said. And as you were saying that, I was thinking about the costs associated with having someone else handle the editing, right? The trade-off. But once you get going, now YouTube, I don't make a ton of money on YouTube ads, but I make enough to cover the expense of having my videos edited. So it's a sweet little bonus. It's my time, but other than that, it's really free to get content out, which makes me happy. So once you get going, when you have enough followers and you can monetize your YouTube account, that is a sweet little extra bonus. And it's kind of motivating, right? It's exciting to see that, wow, I made a few $100 this month, and just a little extra change. That's awesome.
No, that's awesome that your page is monetized. So your YouTube page is monetized.
It is. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's not an easy task. You have to get 4,000 hours of watch time and 1,000 subscribers. So that's kudos to you.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's a long game, right? And in the beginning, it definitely feels like you're just shouting into a void. Like you're putting stuff out there and you're not getting a lot of feedback, or at least I didn't in the very beginning. But then there's sort of a slow burn, and it started to pick up speed. Some people have a really good angle and their stuff, catches fire right from the beginning. I talk about, how to hire an assistant. There was a very small group of people who need to learn how to hire a real estate assistant. So it was a longer game, but even with a very narrow niche like that, I was still able to monetize the channel. So if I can do it, you can do it. All
Yeah,
right.
I'm sorry. If I could add one more point
Yeah.
too to YouTube that I love to bring up, mention is that YouTube is evergreen. So that means your video, I don't want to scare anyone, but your video is up there. It's forever essentially. So if you make a video, I'm in Philadelphia. So if I'm an agent here and I make a video of like top places to eat in Philadelphia, top places to live in Philadelphia. If I'm an agent and I'm making this local content, that'll be on YouTube forever. So if somebody's moving to Philadelphia, they're doing some research, they might stumble upon my video and might hire me. I've seen that happen all the time. I have a friend in Canada. I forget where exactly, but he lives in like a small town, but a lot of people are moving there and his videos are getting thousands of views. He's getting clients from these videos that he's making. So that stuff actually works.
That's a great idea to profile local businesses, where to
Mhm.
eat, what to do. For those who don't want to just talk about themselves or real estate, I love this idea of just staying hyper local and
Yep.
highlighting the community that you live in. All right, so let's talk about how you get started. You mentioned that there's not a lot of tech investment, but what else do people need to think about before they dig into this?
Like podcasting or content in general.
Let's talk about both.
Okay. So let's start with in general. We all have these things. They never leave our side. We're constantly on them. They're cell phones, right? We all have a cell phone. Most of us have an updated, modern enough cell phone with a camera in it where it'll get the job done. So, and with technology, actually, I read an article the other day that a lot of these camera companies aren't even making cameras that they have now because they know it's kind of going obsolete because of the technology of a cell phone. So we all have a cell phone. You can point and shoot. So that's, even if you're just getting started, something better than nothing. So really, it doesn't cost you anything if you just upload, record it and upload it. But like I said, if you chances are you have some type of video editor already because you have listings and showings and things. So you could kind of lean on them to edit your videos for you. So you don't really need a fancy camera, fancy setup. A couple years ago, like green screens were huge and having these backgrounds and you like that's just not. I think people are over that. I think TikTok really changed the landscape of things. Everyone's more into the point and shoot style. So
Mm.
if you were to film a video about a local restaurant, a local monument in your town, you can use that video and upload that to YouTube and you can just have your assistant film you. I've seen people with selfie sticks that record themselves with it. So it's not really not that expensive. The biggest thing really is, I guess, the video editor, and you need someone to post it on social media. But it's not, you don't have to go to a studio anymore. You don't have to have an elaborate green screen. Just start with your cell phone. And if you already have a video person, you can just use their cameras as well. Um, and then for podcasting, it's pretty similar. You just need a computer, a pretty updated computer with a good camera. You can always buy an external, nicer camera, like 80, $100. And when you just start out, you want to eventually have a microphone like I have and you have. But if you're just starting out, you don't have to. So I started my podcast in March, Coaches and Content. When I first started, I did not have the sign. I did not have, they look like bricks. That's wallpaper, but I didn't have this wallpaper, I didn't have all this equipment. I didn't have these lights. I kind of bought it as I went along. So I know some people are gung ho and they want everything up front, which is fine. But for the other people, you could just have a computer with a decent camera, a decent mic, and you can just use Zoom. And the biggest thing is finding guests. You have to find people, you have to schedule it, interview them. But the good thing is if you use Zoom, you can get the audio and the video. So you upload the video to YouTube, upload the audio to podcast platforms. You have to download a podcast or sign up for a podcast platform. Like Spotify has a free one. I use Spreaker.com. It's like
Mhm.
speaker, but with an R because they run ads on your podcast for you. So it's kind of like YouTube. You don't make a lot, but you make some. But you do need to sign up for, Anchor FM, a podcast platform like that. Uh, and so, Zoom is free up to what, like 45 minutes. So,
Mhm.
Zoom is free. So there's not a lot of cost either with podcasting. It just depends on if you really get into it and you want to buy, the essentials. If you really want to get into it, you have to have a nice computer, a nice microphone. I think mine was like $100. No, I mean, that's really it. It really depends.
Yeah.
You have to have good lighting and stuff, but that's really it. It's not a lot of cost. And even as far as editing the video and audio, as there's not a ton of editing that goes into this either.
No, before I had my editor, and even now, sometimes I'll go in just on iMovie is what I use because
Yeah,
that's what I learned how to use. But there, it's not that hard. Like you don't have to use a complicated editing software to do these kinds of videos. Like you're not doing anything that crazy. Really,
right.
iMovie works fine for what I need to do. Okay, so let's talk about how this content fits into a sales funnel and how you can really turn these videos into leads.
Sure, that's a great question because that's what it's all about, right? Like, what's the point of doing all this if you're not going to get business from it? Um, that's good. I got to think about that for a second because I want to properly steer it. So, how do you get leads from it? Well, as far as directly, it's a little bit harder directly. A lot of this stuff is more brand awareness and top of mind, and it's through like just by how by doing things it leads to other things. So by you doing an interview with somebody or a local business person, you build a relationship and a connection with them. You can start having events with them. You can just start become friends with them. Go to their restaurant more often. So a lot of the podcasting side is like more of networking and conversations and meeting new people. One person leads to another. Maybe you meet someone, they're part of some type of business group like a BNI or something, and then you get to meet all their network. So there's like indirect ways, and with the short form content, you're on top of people's minds. As far as the direct way, you can run ads. I think that ads, it's a little harder now with ads. I think they're not working as well, but you can record ads and you can have what's called like a free guide or a lead magnet. You can have like a free buyers or sellers guide, and you can record what's a VSL video sales letter, which is basically just a video ad where you can run an ad and say, hey, you're thinking about your selling your house. I have this checklist of what you need to do to stage your home. I want to give it to you for free. All you have to do is give me your email so I can email it to you, and then you can download it. So you can directly get leads through advertising. And then what you do is you get their email. Now they're in your CRM. Now you can start sending them emails. Once you see that they download it, you can even call them and follow up with them. So you can play around with running ads. If you're in a smaller market, I think you'll probably have more success. You could also try the larger markets, but that's a great way to like directly get leads.
Yeah, and so we do that as well. I have a salary guide that I publish every year,
Oh, cool.
listing the salary ranges for real estate assistants. And so if you're curious how a sales funnel works, I will include the link to my salary guide below. If you'd like to sign up and find out what real estate assistants are earning nationwide, click on that. You'll be added to my CRM, and we don't have a huge drip, but you'll kind of have that whole experience. I'm sure you've been through that before on other sites, but if you're curious or you want to know about real estate assistant salaries, I'll include that for you. So I think that's really helpful information. And I think finally, can we just talk about some SEO fundamentals? So how to think about your titles for videos, what you should be putting in the descriptions of your YouTube videos. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great question. Because like I said, I always want to do everything with purpose and create content with purpose. You don't want to just make content just to make it because you're not wasting your time. It's still better than nothing, but you want to kind of have things thought out and structured. As far as YouTube, I'll tell people they should download. There's a free extension program. It's called TubeBuddy. It's TUBE Buddy. You should check it out. And it's free. They have paid versions, but it's free as well. Basically, they help you with your title and your video SEO. So you can type in stuff and they'll show you, how popular that keyword is or how unpopular it is or similar keywords. And it'll even show you the keywords that other people use on their channel. So like if if you have a rival across town and they're on YouTube, if you download TubeBuddy, it'll show you, what tags and titles that they're using on their video. So I would start with, check out TubeBuddy for sure. I don't get anything from it. I personally use it and it's been great. So I would check that out. And then as far as tags, titles, SEO and stuff like that, that's why I mentioned it really, you got to think about the content you're creating. So if I keep saying mention listings, but if you want to teach someone how to list their home and I'm in Philadelphia, my video title should say three tips to stage your house for your listings in Philadelphia. So you want to put that in the title, you want to put that in the description, you want to put it in the tags, and then in the tags you could break it up, Philadelphia listing, real estate agent, real estate tips, stuff like that. So a lot of times before you even, if you're thinking like SEO wise and stuff like that, before you even record the video, you should kind of think about what you're doing and where you want to go and what you're trying to accomplish with that video. Then you can kind of reverse engineer it to figure out, all right, this is the tag, this is the title I should use. But a lot of times it just comes down to like the area that you live in, because that's really what you're going for, right? It's hyper local. So a lot of times it's just the area you're living in and like what the video is about.
Thank you. Yeah, and this was a lesson I learned the hard way. I started out just making videos about things I thought were interesting or topics that were relevant. And then the SEO was horrible. And so reverse engineering it, like creating videos that people are looking for,
Right.
creating the content that they want,
Right.
not necessarily the content you feel like producing that week, is what actually makes results. So good point. So before we wrap up, is there anything we didn't talk about that you want to make sure that we get to cover on this topic?
I think the biggest thing that I always like to talk about is we don't want to chase business. We don't want to cold call, we want to attract business. We want to attract people. And by putting out video content, especially, that's how you'll attract business. That's how you'll attract people. That's how you'll develop relationships with people before they even meet you. So if they watch your social media stuff, then they go on your website, they feel like they already know you before they even met you, which is called it's a scientific thing. It's called the parasocial relationship. So like if you watch your favorite actor, you think you know them because you've seen the movie 100 times, but you never met them. You don't actually know them. So you could apply the same thing to yourself. Like you could become the movie star in your town by creating video content.
Yes, good point. And I would also say, don't be afraid to just be you. Like, be totally authentic, even if what you feel is authentic is weird. People really crave authenticity, and there's somebody out there for everyone. So if you're really into, I don't know, gardening, or I don't know, any like knitting or whatever your deal is, like be really into it. Like it's okay. Like be weird and interesting, because there are other people who are going to be really connected to that. And there'll be people who aren't directly interested in that thing, but that are still, they still like that you like that thing. And, there are circles of influence that you'll connect with outside of that little niche. But if you're really vanilla and you're trying to speak to everybody, you will fail. Like you've got to have your own unique voice, right?
Yeah. That was a great soundbite. You should cut that out and use that for your own social media.
All right. Thank you for the tip. I appreciate it. So share with everybody what you do and how you can help them get started in content marketing.
Sure. Yeah. So first, I have my company is called Coaches and Content, but I have a podcast called Coaches and Content. So that's why I have the cool sign behind me. And we do about 2 episodes a week, one interview a week with different people in the digital marketing space. We teach people how to get clients through creating content, digital marketing. That's on YouTube and all podcast platforms. And Vanessa and I were talking, definitely going to have you on there. We just got to figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can check the podcast out. And then I have a company where we produce podcasts for agents, mortgage people, title, whatever. We do the video and the audio component. So we can either teach you how to do it. If you have a team, a lot of people have teams that can do stuff. They just don't know how. So we can either teach you how to do it, or we could do all of it for you. We help you get guests. We create graphics for you, edit the videos. And then we also can just help you with your videos in general. It's the same idea. We can coach you on what types of videos to make and how to make them. We can also edit them for you. So it really just depends. A lot of these bigger brokerages have people internally. They just need some guidance and coaching. And then there's some people who don't have anyone. So we do like a mix of both. So I have the website called coachesandcontent.com. I also have a free guide on there that'll teach you how to start your own podcast, from scratch, as far as what streaming services to use, what equipment you need, basically what we talked about, but it's like a free PDF. So you can download that and check it out to get started. It's completely free. Because with podcasting, it's a low cost of entry. You don't need a ton of equipment. You just need to have guests and have interesting topics.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Zac. It was really great to talk with you.
Thanks for having me. This is great. I love talking about this stuff. So hopefully I help one person out there. That would be great.